welcome to It's Academic. Our topic today is on the X Games, and I have some guests today from the College of Business, and I'd like them to introduce themselves. Amy?
Hello, I'm Amy Dory, and I'm an assistant professor in the Hospitality Management program, which is part of Sports Entertainment Hospitality Management within the College of Business.
Thank you. And Scott?
Hi, I'm Scott Sawyer. I am a music industry management student here in the College of Business.
Hi, I'm Sam Tarnowski, and I am a senior in the sports marketing business.
Well, great. I appreciate you joining me today. We're going to be talking about the X Games and your visit to Colorado. So I kind of would like to know how this all started. Amy, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I can. The background extends well into, it would have been the summer of 2015, when the university was contacted by the Mid-Michigan Sports Commission, and we were invited to bring some volunteers down to participate in an event called Mastercraft Throwdown. And this was a partnership between the Mastercraft Corporation that produces speedboats, if you aren't familiar, and ESPN's X Games. And so they were holding almost a mini version of X Games for the ESPN Corporation, and it was focusing on wakeboarding competition.
And where was this at?
And this was in Grand Rapids, Michigan at Millennium Park. And through that opportunity, we took 4 students down representing Ferris, and I had the opportunity to meet a gentleman who was the director of operations for X Games. And by the end of the 2 days, he apparently was incredibly impressed by our students and their performance during that time, so he invited us to participate in the university program with ESPN's X Games.
So how did you put this together then?
This was an exciting opportunity for us to really illustrate the value of collaboration, which is one of the university values. And when we looked at the diversity of what our students would experience participating in gift services programs through ESPN X Games, we realized that we needed to tap into other programs outside of hospitality management. And so looking college-wide, I reached out to some of the faculty that I've worked with in other initiatives and said, do you have seniors, do you have students that might be willing or interested in an endeavor such as this? It was a 7-day travel commitment during the course of the semester. There was some financial outlay in the beginning. So a few challenges that I wanted students to be aware of, but when you look at the value of placing ESPN and X Games and what's an internationally recognized prestigious athletic competition on your resume, it was, I think, worth all of the effort that they put forward.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to ask the students, our viewers may not know what the X Games really is. Can you speak on those, Scott?
Well, the X Games is pretty much an extreme sporting event that it's been around for a long time now. They hold a summer and a winter X Games where in the winter it focuses on snowmobiling, snowboarding, skiing, and things of that nature. And in the summer it's more BMX and skateboarding and dirt bikes and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. So where did you guys go over in January then? I mean, what state, and a little bit about maybe your the facilities?
We went to Snowmass. It's in Aspen, Colorado.
Okay.
It's a big, well, it's actually at Buttermilk Mountain. We stayed in Snowmass. It's just a ski resort, and they build the facilities on the mountain.
Okay. And did they close the mountain, or how did they do that then?
They didn't. They closed some of the slopes. Most of the slope, there was one slope that was still open, and that they let people actually ski or snowboard down during the X Games.
We have some video back there. It looks quite incredible. So
yeah.
Yes, this would be in reference to an area. Now we've moved into the skiing and working in what's called the pipe. And
talk a little bit about that. I don't know what that is.
It's really fun to watch the footage now. This is what's called the super pipe, and there's actually a 20-foot vertical drop from what we refer to as the deck, which is the sides of what looks like a U-shaped formation of ice. And that is ice, that is not snow. And the ice is imperative to allow them the speed needed to get the vertical rise off the sides of that. And so our students were able to actually visit areas that most people never get to see. Scott, can you talk a little bit about the super pipe and some of the areas you accessed?
Yeah, I was during the big day was for the men's snowboarding finals. I was working the super pipe right at the bottom of it, and it was definitely an experience to, a sight to see. Just seeing how, how much it takes to do all these tricks in the air, and the momentum these guys have and the control they have in the air is to land it when they come down is just unreal. but yeah, it was definitely a good experience.
I don't want to get ahead of myself, and let's go back just a few things. So the reasons for going to this event were?
Very multifaceted.
Okay.
From the faculty's perspective, we had two faculty, myself and Karen Keogh, who is one of our full-time professors in the hospitality management program. She is responsible for our ski management certificate. And so she actually takes students up, and they actually are learning ski mountain operations during this class. It's not how to ski, it's how to operate the mountain. And so she was able to go out, and she was looking for relationships for future internships, for educational material for within the classroom, case study information, and myself primarily teaching in the event management concentration within hospitality. I was really looking at it to learn as much as I could about the production side and the operations of an event of this caliber. 115,000 guests, up to 50,000 in one day. There's a stream of people and a size of and a level of the coordination that you have to experience to really understand. It all looks great on paper, and then when you're trying to move 50,000 people around a venue, there's nothing like being there to really understand how it happens. And so when we went as faculty, we were really looking for the education to take back into the classroom and for that real life experience that students feed off of. That energy is important, I think, in classrooms. For the students, I think that they're the best people to speak to what they were looking for. Samantha?
As far as like looking for, it's just the experience. I've been a fan of the X Games for a while. It's been in my past.
Tell us about that a little bit.
I raced snowcross for 12 years, so being able to experience the snowcross aspect of X Games was a huge part of my history in the industry. But then outside of what I do in school, it comes back to it's a huge resume builder. And just the experience to tell someone that you worked for ESPN at X Games is huge, especially with going into sports marketing. That was huge. I got to talk to a lot of people out there, made a lot of connections. So I think everything that we did out there met my expectations of being out there, learning, and being able to experience that.
Scott, what about you? Did you know what you were getting into?
Well, I was kind of nervous, like going first of all, but I was excited also. I didn't know what I was getting into. I've never been to Colorado before, but when I got there, you know, after a day or two, it definitely got comfortable and understood how things worked. But related to my major, it was nice that after every day of the event, there was a concert at the end of the night. So, which is where, you know, that goes right with my major, music industry management, which allowed me to take like the skills that I've learned here at Ferris, doing the past concerts such as Autumn Alive and Tug, and bring that to real life, but with much larger named artists. It was definitely an experience trying to manage that kind of crowd. I thought it was a really great idea for X Games to bring in concerts after the event, after every day of the event. This is only the second year that they've done that. So, and they've seen, you know, quite a bit more attendance because of that, I believe. Definitely, it definitely tested my abilities trying to manage that many people. It was a lot of fun, though. On top of, you know, all the event management during the day, just the music at night, I feel like was like icing on the cake, kind of.
Well, now, this was a great honor for Ferris. How many other schools were able to participate like Ferris did?
Within the structured university program, which provided some really specific training to our students, there were 3 universities from within the country, and Ferris was one of those. And an invitation program, and so we're allowed to bring in a group of students. We make that contractual commitment early, and then they're part of a very rigorous training program that happens on the first day. They spend an hour in a very intensive safety training program. They meet with the director of X Games, and then we moved from there into what they call the executive presentations, where they met with the vice president of direct event and sales marketing, and he's for Aspen Snowmass, and then they met with the director of operations for their audio productions and learned about the miles of cable run for all of the cameras and equipment. And I think the neatest one was the vice president of X Games, who actually made a connection with Scott, if you remember.
Yeah. His name was Tim, and pretty much every day I ended up running into him like consistently, and he ended up remembering my name. We were able to pass along a Ferris State hat to him, which was he appreciated. That was awesome. But yeah, he was a very nice guy, down to earth. You would never know he was, you know, a high up vice president of X Games. It was just, you know, definitely, and that goes for a lot of people there. The lifestyle is very different from Michigan. You know,
And who owns the X Games?
That's owned actually, it's part of the ESPN
Okay.
organization, and ESPN is under the umbrella of the Disney
Okay.
Corporation. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Which is pretty cool because Ferris also does, you know, many Disney internships. People have gone through there, so it's good for us students.
Okay, so you arrived in Aspen, and then where did you stay? Was there?
We stayed in Snowmass. We
Okay.
had a house out there that held all 12 of us. So it was nice. We weren't separated. We got to be a team and build relationships within each other. At first, you know, we all got nominated by different advisors, different teachers. So we all came together not knowing each other. I mean, there's a few people that knew each other, but as a team, none of us fully bonded together. So it was kind of cool for all of us to spend time together and learn each other, but not only have fun together, but we also worked together the whole time we were there.
So how are the students chosen then? They're from different programs, is that
Yes.
right?
They were put forward by the different program advisors that I've worked with, and then they went through a pretty rigorous interview process. And we did have many more applicants than we had slots. And so based upon those recommendations and their performance within the interview process, we selected what I believe to be 10 of the very best students that college business has to offer.
That's excellent. So you got to Aspen, and then you started doing training. How did you determine where, I mean, where did they put you? Where are some of the jobs, I guess? What did you actually do, I guess I want to know?
Okay, so it was cool because they allowed all the students to rotate through the different jobs. There was, you know, several different areas to work in. So when you start off, you go in. We were all part of guest services, first of all, but they would split up our group amongst all the other groups of students or guest services who were working there. So you really got to rotate with people. But the first spot when you walk in is called the Festival Deck and Festival Snow. So that's where all your big sponsors are. There was, you know, the Navy was there. Go Puck, a lot of Marvel was there, a lot of really cool people. And then when you go down, is Festival Snow is like, you're on the snow and it's not on the deck anymore. But it wraps around into an area called the playground, which is...
So if you see a slide that shows it, you have to...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we'll do,
mention it,
definitely,
yes.
we'll do. So there's the Festival Deck, Festival Snow, they're wrapped around to the playground. And as for the big events, there was... the Big Air was, you know, it's right next to the Super Pipe. That's where, you know, people try to do their biggest tricks, basically.
And what kind of things were you doing then? Did you have
Mostly
security?
mostly
or?
security and crowd control, especially later at night. The crowd gets a little wild, and you definitely have to, you know, manage them.
There's
Is
the
that
sponsor
something-
deck.
Oh yeah, there's the
Yep.
Festival
okay.
Deck right there.
Okay.
But yeah, and so there was Big Air, and then to the left of that was the Super Pipe, where they had all, you know, the skiing and snowboarding. Next to Super Pipe was Slope Style, so that's more of a, it's like a downhill trick course kind of thing, and it gives you the freedom to make your own, or gives the athletes the freedom to make their own runs, do their own tricks. So it's very different, unlike Super Pipe and Big Air. It's very consistent. It's the same thing over and over. It's, you know, but I mean, all fun to be at. And then to the left of Slope Style was Snowcross Freestyle with the snowmobiles, and that was an amazing sight to see, because to see guys flip 1,000 and 1,200 pound machines in the air is amazing. But yep, and then Slope Style also, and Big Air also went all the way up to the top of the hill, where we would rotate students throughout there also. So it's a very cool view up there. But those were the main work areas, and then we had the concert venue, which was the Sound Factory, it was called. And students at night would rotate in or rotate out and it was cool because they kind of gave us the freedom of who we would like to work for, or what events would we like to work at most, but they definitely made sure everybody saw every position, so it was very cool.
Sam, what did you like to work?
Well, coming from the history of snowcross, I was actually one of the people that got to work the snowcross part of it, and I thought that was really cool. But I can't really say my favorite, because I think working at each of the stations was a different aspect of the X Games. You get to see different things, you get to experience different things. So it was kind of like an all-around event. You get to see everything, you get to experience everything. And then not only did we work, but we also got to enjoy the concerts if we weren't working the concerts. So, they did let us play too a little bit. We didn't always have to be strict and, down, but at night some of us did get to go and enjoy those concerts or enjoy some of the events that were going on. So, it was work and play. It was a lot of fun.
What were your hours like?
Very long.
Very long.
we were on site by 8 a.m. at the latest every morning. They offer full catering. They take wonderful care of their staff there. And so we would be on site before 8 a.m., which gave us time to have breakfast. And every morning at 9 a.m. we had what we called the daily rundown. And so they would provide us with detailed information sheets that had the daily schedule, tips, things that had come up, information about first aid, Tag a Kid program, different sponsor highlights, and things that we needed to know to really answer questions. And our main charge, when we talk about these different positions that we were in, really what we were was the face of the event. We were out there to be the eyes and the ears for X Games, to make sure that their guests were taken care of, that they had their questions answered, and that they were safe. Safety is a big component of what the X Games will focus on. And so it was really fun to learn all of that background history. The students did months of research before they left. They developed their own website to share information about the different athletes that were going, about Aspen itself, so they could answer all of the questions that a guest might have. And when we say we worked security, not from that perspective of really enforcing the rules, because they had an actual security team on site. They kind of referred to us as the in-between, because security is a very black and white process. But we were really there to take care of the guests. And when those gray areas came in, and when judgment calls needed to be made, or when athletes needed assistance or something extra needed to happen, that's where our students were able to utilize their judgment and all of their education that they've obtained here at Ferris to really help enhance that experience. And so they might be at the top of the pipe, actually helping orchestrate and move the athletes from the athlete tent up to the top of the performance area. Or they might be working on the decks to help make sure that people are moving safely up and down, and that they're not blocking any sort of an egress issue, creating a fire hazard or a safety issue. They might actually be, I have a great shot of Scott, and he's actually working at the bottom of the pipe, where, and it was interesting, this is something that the logistics you don't necessarily think of. When the athletes come down the hill, we have to get them back to the top. And so the only way to do that is by snowmobile. And so there's actually a loop that circles around each of those different types of venues. And so we have to make sure that there are no guests that cross into the paths of those snowmobiles. And so this great shot of Scott when he was holding, making sure no one was walking in front of it. And he's smiling and he's chatting. And so much of the fun, I think, in that is that all of these students really understood the concept of hospitality and service. And so they were there to make sure that the guests understood, we're going to take care of your safety first, and then we're going to make sure you see what you want to see and that you have a good time.
Well, I know you had to be prepared for most anything that would happen, but I believe something happened that had not happened before. Who would like to tell about that?
The X Games experienced their first blizzard while we were on site. And it was the last day of the event, which was the last day of the event, which was Saturday. And they knew the storm was coming. And I got the sense, and I don't know if you two would agree with that, but I feel like Colorado was a little bit like Michigan, where we don't really know what's going to happen. We have a storm coming, but depending on the mountain, a little bit like depending on the lake for us. We're going to wait and we're going to see what happens.
Yeah.
And so I think they were prepared for a lot of things, but they weren't prepared for what was pretty nearly a blizzard situation.
And how many years have they done this? I mean, you would think they would.
They've been at Aspen, at Buttermilk for, I believe it's 14 or 15
and
years.
And they never had a blizzard before.
And not during the games itself.
During the day, it was weird to see how much like Michigan it is because of the change in weather. During the day on Saturday around 2 o'clock, it was like 50 degrees and super warm. I remember like having no coat on, but snow was everywhere. And then within about like a half hour to 45 minutes, it dropped like 20 degrees, and you could just tell like there was a huge storm coming in the sky. And I haven't seen a storm like the one I saw in Colorado since I was a little kid in Michigan. It was just intense. During the men's snowboarding finals, they were able to, get like the whole crowd at the bottom, situated finally, and it started a few minutes late, but about a half hour, 40 minutes into the competition, people were just turning into popsicles. Like they were just covered in snow. I mean, including us. So they got everybody, all the athletes, through their first round, and they ended up having to cancel the men's snowboarding finals. So they took the scores from everyone from the first round and counted them. During the first round, there was a 16-year-old boy who had the best round in the first round. He ended up winning the men's snowboarding finals. It's a pretty amazing factor. But yeah, the blizzard was definitely.
And so what parts did you actually play? What did you have to do then?
I was actually at the bottom of the hill.
Oh, you're at the bottom.
Dealing with the crowd.
Were they panicking? I mean, what was the feeling?
I wouldn't say they were panicking, but there was a lot of safety issues that we had to take care of on that aspect. We actually closed down the festival deck because the railings and the sidewalks and stuff were getting so icy that it was unsafe. So there was only certain ways that the guests could go to get to certain places. So I was part of the group that we had to barricade off the festival deck and make sure that nobody that didn't have working credentials could get down there. The guests were pretty easygoing. I mean, they understand that it's safety. We have to take care of them. But dealing with that amount of crowd, people coming off the decks of the half pipe, and then having the big air still going on, people just trying to move around areas. It was just hard to finagle people to make sure that they're going to the right places. There was a concert that night, and people couldn't see the concert venue because the snow was so bad. So people were asking, where's the concert going to be held at? So you're trying to direct people to a big
And they
black
still
tent.
wanted to go to the.
Yeah, people.
Still a big showing. A lot of people showed up to the concert still.
The snow was hard, and it was a really bad storm, but it's dedication. People really wanted to be there and really wanted to see what they were having. So, yeah, we had people still stay even though the slope or the half pipe was closed, the big air still continued to go. So we still had people trying to watch that. And then after that was over, the concert was after that. So we still had people. We still were moving people around. It was an experience dealing with that large of a crowd to get places.
Well, I know there's so much more to tell about this story. I do want to get a few more asides in here before we wrap up today. But if there's one thing that you could tell your kids when you have kids, what would it be about this experience? Looking back, what do you think you would take away from it?
I would definitely, the experience itself is to visit Colorado in general. It's an amazing place. I feel like the people there are very, very different. Not in a bad way or in a better way. It's just a different lifestyle kind of there. But I would tell my kids to pretty much work hard and take any opportunity available to you, because we showed that from our hard work there that the X Games, the guest services, was just impressed by our performance as Ferris in general as a whole. And so hard work goes a really long way. People notice it.
Do you think that Ferris has prepared you well for that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Sam?
I think going off of him, mine's kind of the same thing. I just tell my kids, stay true to yourself. Make sure, what you do 110%. This opportunity has changed a lot of things. I mean, we did such a great job as a Ferris. As a whole, we potentially might be going, well, not as a group, but we might be going to Austin X Games in the summer. So I think just taking any opportunity that you can get, no matter what your thoughts are about it. I totally went into this blind. I didn't know if I wanted to go. I was going to go as a guest, but going to work has made a whole different experience for me. And I think just for, if I have kids, when I have kids, just to go for it. I mean, don't hold yourself back. If money or something's an issue, it'll get taken care of. I mean, just go do what you want to do and have fun doing it. Everything will be an experience.
Yeah, to go off that, I mean, I would also tell my kids, like, I realized this after going there and working, waking up extremely tired, all of us, but we were still so excited to go to work, you know. We were just, you know, it was such, the work was fun, so we wanted to go, we wanted to do it. So definitely I would tell my kids to get into something or be involved in something that you love, you know, and it'll make your job that much more fun, you know. It won't even be a job if you like it that much.
We have just a couple minutes left. Amy, tell me what your takeaways are from this.
I think the students really have highlighted the most important piece. Tim Reed, the Vice President of X Games, when he spoke to the students, told them, be sure that your profession lies close to your passion. And I think that's why the X Games was such an experience for all of us, is because exhaustion at a level I've never experienced, with oxygen that's much thinner than I think people should ever have to breathe. And still excited to be there, every day revealing something new, every day learning something about yourself. And I've never worked with a team of students that were that dedicated, and never a complaint. We had to drive back in that blizzard from Aspen to Denver, 8 hours straight, in cars, pretty tight situation, and never once, not during that whole entire week, did they complain. And I hope that they walked away understanding how important your team is for your success. Because if your passion is embedded in what you do every day, work will be a pleasure. And surrounding yourself with people that are as dedicated to it as you are, I don't think there's anything better in life.
Because when people go through like that kind of, I would say, hardship, you know, or, you know, that kind of job together, like there's no way you're not going to become closer to each other. And after experiencing that, I never realized like how close I would be with these, you know, this group of people. When I first walked into the meeting, I was like, oh, I don't know any of these people, and now I could, you know, just walk up to any of them, and it's just, we're that close. So
Sounds like it was a life-changing event.
It was, for sure.
And
Definitely.
hopefully this summer
Great
you're
experience.
thinking of doing, but that's not with Ferris. So.
No, that'll be there. There are independent opportunities for the students, but a lot of the same guest services management team will be on site in Austin, and they were specifically asking these students, come down, please come down and join us, even if Amy can't coordinate a group initiative.
It's
So they're
definitely
excited.
because of Ferris, though, you know. It's
Oh,
they're
yeah.
the one that gives us the opportunity, so.
Well, excellent. Well, I appreciate you coming today, sharing what you've done. I hope to do a little bit more marketing on campus, and I've got some great photos from Amy, and just want to thank you for telling it a little bit about what happened, and we hope to hear more. Perhaps you can send me some more photos for our digital sign. But
Yeah,
thank
of
you for
course.
joining us today, and we appreciate hearing from our students, and again too from our faculty, of some of the things that are happening outside of the classroom. So
Thanks to you for giving us the chance to do this.
great. Well, thank you so much. I think that wraps us up.
Television and digital media production
at Ferris State University. Hands-on learning.
Small class sizes.
Ready two. Take two. Well-rounded.
successful internships,
experienced faculty,
Television and digital media production.
Preparing students for the future.